The white woman accused of shooting AJ Owens, a mother of four, is behind bars, facing several charges, including manslaughter. Marion County, Florida, Sheriff Billy Woods publicly announced the arrest today. I think we have a clip.
58-year-old Susan Lorincz for the killing of Miss AJ Owens. Now, my detectives have been working around the clock since this happened, sifting through evidence and interviewing witnesses. Now, I said this at the beginning. We want the same thing as Miss Owens's family, and that's justice. Now, here's the thing about justice. She's on her own time. Not my time, not a prosecutor's time, not even a mob's time. A mob seeking, well, what they think is justice. And I understand that in these situations like this, emotions run high, and it's understandable. In fact, I want to thank all of you that have sent me messages, sent me emails, texted me, and encouraging the arrest, because it shows that you care about a fellow human being. Now, many of you were struggling to understand why there was not an immediate arrest. Well, as I partially explained in the beginning, the laws here in the state of Florida are clear. Now, I may not like them. I may not agree with them. But however, those laws I will follow, and I will ensure. And sometimes when we do these investigations of cases of this level, rushing in to make an arrest is not the right thing to do sometimes. In fact, it could probably cause complications or cause errors, because we want to ensure that what we present, that justice is served all the way through the courts, and that the individual gets what they deserve. And that's one of the things. My detectives cannot complete an investigation without getting all sides of a story. And that night, all we had was one person's story, and that was the shooter's story. But Miss Owens' story had to be told through evidence and the eyes of witnesses who were there. I told you that we want nothing more than justice, and this can only be accomplished by maintaining the integrity of the case and leaving no stone unturned. Throughout this tragic event, we have been working very closely with Mrs. Owens' family. And right now, that family needs your prayers and support. The justice we have all been seeking has been served. But peace for them is still a ways down the road. Now, some of you have asked me about the Stand Your Ground law. Personally, I think it's a great law, designed to help Floridians to defend themselves and keep themselves safe. However, it does not apply in all situations, and this situation is a prime example of when it was not justified. It was simply a killing.
Lorincz is charged with manslaughter with a firearm, culpable, negligence, battery, and assault. She is facing up to 30 years in prison. According to the sheriff's report, Lorincz shot Miss Owens through a door Friday when she attempted to confront Lorincz about allegedly throwing a pair of skates at two of her kids, striking her 10-year-old son in the toe. The kids were playing in a field near Lorintz's home, and she started an argument with the children. Owens' 12-year-old son went to speak with the woman. Lorincz opened her door and swung at them with an umbrella. The kids went home and told their mother. When their mother went to Lorintz's home, knocked on the door, and demanded that the woman come outside, that's when Lorincz fired one shot through the door, hitting Owens in the chest. She died in the hospital. Her 10-year-old son was standing next to her at the time of the shooting. I wanted to bring our panel in on this. I want to bring our panel on this conversation. Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President, Fair Election Center, Washington, D.C. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former Senior Advisor for Environmental Justice, EPA. And Eugene Craig, CEO of the X Factor Media, Inc., here in Baltimore, Maryland. So I want to start with you, Rebecca. Just what did you take away from the press conference and the charges being filed today? Do you think this will bring justice to this community?
You know, I think it's very telling that you have the chief law enforcement agent in that county saying that, justice can be slow and we have to wait for her. No, we're literally waiting for you to make sure you're bringing charges, making sure that your team is doing a full investigation so justice can happen. But I also found it very telling that he said in his personal capacity, he personally likes stand your ground. But in this particular instance, he doesn't see how stand your ground is justified or how it applies. I want to know if that's the official position of his jurisdiction and not just in his personal capacity. I really want him to make that clearer.
And Mustafa, just kind of on that point, would this arrest have happened if it wasn't for the level of public attention and activism? This is another situation like we saw in Brunswick with Ahmaud Arbery, where until the public outcry came, the charges don't come.
Yeah, that's why our voices are so important. That's why networks like this and any others who are actually focused on making sure that justice actually happens in relationship to our communities. Dr. King said justice delayed is justice denied. So it's interesting. I totally understand, that it takes time to do an investigation. But we also know that if we don't stay engaged and raise our voices in many instances, our needs fall through the cracks. So I'm glad to see that there was an arrest, but we still have a long way to go in relationship to see if there is a prosecution.
And Eugene, we've seen through the last several years, right-wing media has switched into this post-apocalyptic mode, telling these people that there are people coming to your door. Black Lives Matter and Antifa are going to come assault you. NRA had that ad campaign a few years ago, "Freedom's Safest Place," pumping these people's head full of this propaganda that there are black people coming to kill you at any point in time and it's proper to use a gun. What culpability does the news media and the right-wing media have? And kind of these continued shootings that we keep seeing, whether it's in a driveway, in a parked car, in a house, it seems that this is only proliferating because of this narrative in the media.
Look, I think the right-wing news media, the right-wing echo chamber has a huge level of culpability here. The level of trauma they inflict on their viewers, the heightened sense of danger that they're perpetuating that really doesn't exist. And just the perceptions that they float on a regular basis, it becomes a lot of people's reality, and it's a false reality. So, the thing is this, I don't think, stand your ground or self-defense laws are bad within themselves, but how they end up being used ends up being very, very demonic in nature, for lack of a better term. But the thing is this, at the end of the day, this woman needs to be brought to justice. And hopefully justice moves very swiftly as she was to pull her gun and pull the trigger wrongfully.
Absolutely. I think this is part of the reason also that we have to start focusing particularly in the 2024 election cycle, not just on the presidential races. Everybody gets very excited about the presidential race. We're going to talk about the presidential race some in the next segment. But these state and local races are crucial because if you want to repeal laws like the Stand Your Ground law, that has to happen on the state level. Just like Georgia's able to repeal their state citizens arrest law, this has to happen on the state and local level. Rebecca, what can we do to start a public education campaign or help people understand that these things are not intransigent? They don't have to exist. They can be changed, but we have to vote in elections coming up, not just at the top of the ticket, but all the way down the ticket.
Yeah, people need to understand that the state of Florida has created a culture of violence, a culture of shoot first, ask questions later. And if residents of Florida do not want that to happen, they have to get registered to vote. Florida has made it harder to vote in Florida, has made it harder for people to register. But as many people as possible, you have to register to vote. You have to educate yourself on what's on the ballot, and then you actually have to turn out and you have to vote these people out if you want to see change in the state of Florida.
Absolutely. We're going to keep an eye on this story and make sure we bring you updates as they come about.